Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Urdu Seekhiye. This is episode number 19. Today I have with me my friend Travis.
Assalamu alaikum. Looking forward to helping you out today, Shireen.
Me too, actually. But before we dive in, I'd like to say a little about how we came to know of each other. So Travis and I used to work at the same company. I randomly started searching internally to see if they had a language learning forum. I kept digging to see if they had one specifically for Urdu. And amazingly enough, one existed, and it had been started by none other than Travis here. I think it was over 4 or 5 years ago that we had our first Skype Urdu meeting. So Travis used to work for the government. His job required him to learn Urdu, and that is why he knows it so well. Travis, आप बता सकते हैं कि आप कितने अरसे से उर्दू सीख रहे हैं?
हाँ जी, ज़रूर। तो मैं 14 साल से उर्दू सीख रहा हूँ, क्योंकि जैसे आपने कहा, अमेरिकी हुकूमत के लिए काम करता था।
14 साल? No wonder you can read and write it so much better than me. So I've got a ways to go. Anyway, do you want to tell our listeners what the topic is for today?
Absolutely. In this episode, you will hear me trying to buy art from a small shopkeeper. It'll help you learn the vocabulary for buying things and negotiating the price. So you may know that in South Asia and many other parts of the world, there are often small shops and markets outside. With such small shops, you often get the chance to haggle with the shopkeeper. This dialogue isn't the best example because the bargaining process can get pretty ruthless.
Yes, this is a more civil version of it. So let's hear the dialogue and see how Travis takes advantage of this starving artist. You'll first hear the dialogue at the conversational pace, then we'll slow it down.
ये कितनी खूबसूरत पेंटिंग है, क्या आपने बनाया?
जी, मैंने बनाई. ऐसी और भी हैं, दिखाऊं?
दिखाइए.
देखिए, इसमें चांद सितारे हैं.
ओह, जबरदस्त. ये कितनी की है?
$25 की है. लेकिन अगर आप ज्यादा खरीदेंगे तो मैं अच्छा डिस्काउंट दूंगी.
अच्छा, वो दोनों कितने की है?
कौन सी? ये दोनों?
नहीं, वो नहीं. उनके बराबर वाली. वो लाल और वो नीली वाली.
ये $45 से कम कहीं नहीं मिलेगी आपको. जिस अंदाज में ये रंग इस्तेमाल किए हैं मैंने, वो लोगों को बहुत पसंद है.
नहीं, ये तो महंगी है.
चलो, इन तीनों के लिए $100 कर देती हूँ.
ये फिर भी बहुत महंगी है. खैर, आपकी किस्मत.
Let's hear it again, slowed down.
ये कितनी खूबसूरत पेंटिंग है. क्या आपने बनाए?
जी, मैंने बनाई. ऐसी और भी हैं. दिखाऊं?
दिखाइए.
देखिए, इसमें चांद सितारे हैं.
ओह, जबरदस्त. ये कितनी की है?
$25 की है. लेकिन अगर आप ज्यादा खरीदेंगे तो मैं अच्छा डिस्काउंट दूंगी.
अच्छा, वो दोनों कितने की हैं?
कौन सी? ये दोनों?
नहीं, वो नहीं. उनके बराबर वाली. वो लाल और वो नीली वाली.
ये $45 से कम कहीं नहीं मिलेगी आपको. जिस अंदाज में ये रंग इस्तेमाल किए हैं मैंने, वो लोगों को बहुत पसंद है.
नहीं, ये तो महंगी है.
चलो, इन तीनों के लिए $100 कर देती हूँ.
ये फिर भी बहुत महंगी हैं. खैर, आपकी किस्मत. Now, Shireen will say the Urdu lines and I will translate.
ये कितनी खूबसूरत पेंटिंग है. क्या आपने बनाई?
This is such a beautiful painting. Did you make it?
जी, मैंने बनाई. ऐसी और भी हैं. दिखाऊं?
Yes, I made it. There are others like it. May I show you?
दिखाइए.
Show me.
देखिए, इसमें चांद सितारे हैं.
Look, the moon and stars are in this one.
ओह, जबरदस्त. ये कितने की है?
Oh, wonderful. How much is it?
$25 की है. लेकिन अगर आप ज़्यादा खरीदेंगे तो मैं अच्छा डिस्काउंट दूंगी.
It is $25, but if you buy more, then I will give you a good discount.
अच्छा, वो दोनों कितने की हैं?
Okay, how much are those two?
कौन सी? ये दोनों?
Which ones? These two?
नहीं, वो नहीं. उनके बराबर वाली. वो लाल और वो नीली वाली.
No, not those. The ones next to them. The red and the blue one.
ये $45 से कम कहीं नहीं मिलेगी आपको. जिस अंदाज में ये रंग इस्तेमाल किए हैं मैंने, वो लोगों को बहुत पसंद है.
You will not find this for less than $45 anywhere. The style in which I use these colors is liked by a lot of people.
नहीं, ये तो महंगी है.
No, that's expensive.
चलो, इन तीनों के लिए $100 कर देती हूँ.
All right. For these three, I will make it $100.
ये फिर भी बहुत महंगी हैं. खैर, आपकी किस्मत.
It's still too expensive. Well, it must be meant for you.
Okay, so now for part 3, where we go into each line in more detail.
Okay, so the dialogue begins with Ye kitni khubsurat painting hai. Kya aapne banaye? Khubsurat on its own means beautiful, but with kitni in front of it, it becomes so beautiful. Khub and surat are both Persian words. Khub means good and surat meaning face, so it's a pretty literal word.
And I wonder if instead of painting, we could have used tasveer. But in my mind, tasveer means picture or photograph and not painting.
Yeah, I wouldn't use tasveer myself unless I was talking about an actual picture or a photograph. So returning to our sentence, ye means this, and hey comes from hona, our verb meaning to be. It's conjugated as third person singular, and it's the same for both masculine and feminine subjects. So ye, kitni khubsurat painting hai means this is such a beautiful painting. And we know that the next line is a question because it begins with the question indicator, kya, and continues apne banai. Ap is a pronoun meaning you, the most formal of the three possible in Urdu, and it does not change whether we're referring to a male or a female. Banai is the verb banana, meaning to make, conjugated third person, in the past, female, and the ne doesn't mean anything. It is the ergative case marker, which we place behind the subject in past perfect sentences with a transitive verb. In Urdu, we mark the subject of past perfect sentences that have a transitive verb with ne, and then in these sentences with ne, the verb will agree in both gender and number with either the object of the sentence, if there is one, and there is no postposition behind it, or it will be singular masculine if there is no object, or if the object is marked, meaning it does have a postposition.
Let's go through a few examples to make this more concrete. So in episode 18, in the follow-up segment, there were several sentences that used ne. Let's use the ones in this dialogue, along with the ones from the follow-up segment of episode 18.
Okay, in this episode we have the question, Kya aapne banai? Then we have, Jis andaz mein ye rang istemal kiye hain, maine. The style in which I used these colors. And finally, isse Saima ne likha. Saima wrote it. Note that they all show a completed action. So the first example is Kya aapne banai. Ap is our subject, so we add ne after it. Banana is our verb, and it's being conjugated to match the gender and number of the object, which is painting.
That's right. The object isn't mentioned in the question itself. The object that this question is referring to is the painting, which is feminine.
Exactly. That's why it's banai. The full question would be Kya Ye painting apne banai? Let's look at the next sentence. Jis andaz mein ye rang istemal kiye hain. Maine. So our subject here is me, or I, and we add ne after it. Our verb here is istemal karna, and it's being conjugated to match the gender and number of the object in this sentence, which is rang. Rang is masculine and plural, that's why we have istemal kiye hain. And the final example is much easier. Isse saima ne laka. What's the subject here? Saima. That's why we have the ne right after it. The verb is likna, and it's being conjugated to lika because the object that it's referring to is the object pronoun isse.
So if by the logic that we're explaining it, we're saying, so we have the subject, then right after the subject comes the ne, and the object determines the gender and number. So isse is our...
It's because isse is essentially is say, and that's a marked object. Even if isse was referring to something that was feminine, it would still be lika. Something ne, right? So that's the subject. And now, if there is an object, we are going to conjugate based on the object unless the object has a postposition behind it, right?
But I don't see a postposition.
Once the object is marked, it will be masculine no matter what. And isse is a marked pronoun. If it wasn't marked, it would just be ye.
The only reason I can understand it being a marked pronoun is the whole idea of isko, which is the same as isse.
Okay, that's fair. So it doesn't matter what it represents because it's always going to be masculine singular.
So we have a lot more on this topic to share. So we'll have a follow-up segment, which you will not want to miss. For now, let's move to the next line. जी मैंने बनाई ऐसी और भी हैं दिखाऊं? So जी means yes. मैंने बनाई means I made it. Next we have the phrase ऐसी और भी हैं. ऐसी means like this or like these. और भी means more. And हैं is our to be verb meaning are. ऐसी और भी हैं means there are more like this one. Or there are more like these. Then we have the word दिखाऊं. दिखाऊं comes from the verb दिखाना, which means to show. This ending is added to the end of verbs to ask whether the speaker should perform that action. So I changed the verb दिखाना to दिखाऊं, and it means may I show you or should I show you? Another verb is खाना, which means to eat. So if we change खाना to खाऊं, then we're asking, should I eat? And it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl asking it. Travis, can you think of another verb where we can apply this?
There are tons. I mean, you can essentially change any action verb in this way. It's how children ask for permission in school. So the verb to read is पढ़ना. If a child wanted to ask, may I read? He or she could say, पढ़ूं?
So let's see if you can turn a verb into a question that asks for permission. How about the verb आना? We've told you in the past that it means to come. So if your two friends are going to the movies, which would be a really bad idea right now, and you want to tag along, what might you ask? मैं आऊं? Meaning, can I come? Can I come along?
I think the verb चलना would be better to ask for permission to come along, don't you? मैं चलूं? Can I come?
True, I definitely agree. मैं चलूं would be better.
And you might be thinking that चलना means to walk, and that's true, but it also means to leave or to go somewhere. And this ending implies that you're asking about yourself. So you're asking, may I go with you?
Let's look at the response to दिखाऊं. I ask, दिखाऊं? And Travis says, दिखाइए? So now the verb is ending in ye. This ye ending shows the highest level of respect. So it's assuming that Travis is using आप. आप दिखाइए.
Right, this is an imperative. Dekaye means show me, but very politely. If I didn't want to show the shopkeeper as much respect, then I could use dekao. So we take the verb root and add o. And then we have one more form of the imperative for the least amount of respect. And that has no ending. We just use the verb root. So that would be deka. So ie is the ending for the most respect. O is the ending for what I would call neutral. And no ending, just the verb root, is the least amount of respect, or what you might use with a child or your spouse.
Yes, Wajiha and I went into more detail about this in episode 1, I think. So for the question, दिखाऊं, the response is देखिए. Let's apply this to our other verbs. खाऊं, खाइए. पढ़ूं, पढ़िए. आऊं, आइए. चलूं, चलिए. And now that I'm talking about this a second time, I imagine asking someone, आऊं, as I'm standing at their doorway. Asking, आऊं, at someone's doorway would mean, may I come in? The person would respond, आइए, meaning, please, come in.
There are a few irregular verbs that don't follow this rule, for example, करना and देना, and we'll discuss them in the follow-up episode, so tune into that if you want to learn more. Then we have another request. Shireen says देखिए, meaning take a look. So even though they sound very much alike, they're two separate verbs. Dekana means to show, and dekna means to look. So first Shireen asks, Dekaun? Should I show you? And I respond, Dekaye. Show me, please. Then she responds, Dekiye. Look. It may be easy to confuse the two, so be mindful that they're two different verbs. Then she says, Isme chand starahe. Isme means in this. Is is the oblique form of ye, and chand is moon. Sitara is a star, so sitare is the plural, stars. In this are the moon and stars.
Exactly. Then Travis responds, oh, zabardast. And you use the word zabardast to express that you like something, that you're pleased. Then he says, ye kitne ki hai, which means, how much is this? Or how much is it? If he were asking the price of multiple items, multiple paintings, let's say, he'd change the hai to hai to make it plural. Ye kitne ki hai.
The response to ye kitne ki hai is $25 ki hai. That means it is $25. You'll notice we say dollar and not dollars. This is because quite often you'll hear Urdu speakers just say dollar, even though the amount is not singular. $25, $100. But you could also use dollars if you wanted, though it is often pronounced with a Z sound, dollars.
Then, to entice him to purchase more, I say, लेकिन अगर आप ज़्यादा खरीदेंगे, but if you buy more, ज़्यादा means more, and खरीदना is our verb meaning to buy. लेकिन अगर आप ज़्यादा खरीदेंगे, तो मैं अच्छा discount दूंगी. तो मैं अच्छा discount दूंगी means that I will give you a good discount. Again, we see that ongi ending, which indicates the future tense. Let's say the same line, but let's say that the customer is a woman. Then what would change? I'd say, लेकिन अगर आप ज़्यादा खरीदेंगी, तो मैं अच्छा discount दूंगी. If it were a woman younger than me, I might say, लेकिन अगर तुम ज़्यादा खरीदोगी, तो मैं अच्छा discount दूंगी. We'll be sure to include other conjugations on the handout, so please download that.
So Shireen, in my experience with various shopkeepers in other countries, they always have a general price and then a price that they quote, saying that it's specifically for you, as opposed to suggesting that you should buy more to get the discount.
No, you're absolutely right. Suggesting that the price be reduced because you're buying multiple items usually comes from the customer and not the vendor.
So we do see it later, this phrase आपके लिए, which means for you. The shopkeeper is always trying to convey that you're special somehow, that this special low price is only for you.
It's funny, I remember being with my mom and her brother. We went to a specific shop and ended up staying for like 45 minutes, maybe more. And the shopkeeper just kept on unfolding these beautiful shawls, trying to convince us to buy them. Once they see that you're definitely interested, they'll ask you to sit down and ask you if you want any tea or something to drink. Then they'll ask some random boy that's around to fetch your drinks for you. Anyway, he kept saying, "Acha chalo, aapke liye मैं 3,000 रुपए कर देता हूँ." Which means, okay, fine. For you, I'll make it 3,000 rupees. And it's almost robotic for them to say. But after you've been in the shop for so long, you start thinking, man, I'm getting a good discount. Or maybe because I'm a foreigner, I started believing it. Did you have a similar experience, Travis? Did you sit for long periods and negotiate over drinks like mango juice or tea?
Yes, I do remember more than one time, but we can talk about just one time when I was in a carpet store and they offered me the Kashmiri chai, which is very good, and one of the actual like import-export people, the person who brings the carpet from where it was made in Peshawar to where I was shopping was there, and he didn't speak any English at all. It was very surprising to him that I could speak, at least up to some point, Urdu. And they made me feel like I got a good deal, but I don't know. I feel like I should have negotiated harder.
Yeah.
It's always like that, though.
Yeah, and your white skin also probably got you not the best deal.
Maybe not. We should also look at another way to say discount Dana, since discount isn't an Urdu word. So you could possibly hear the shopkeeper say, मैं इसकी कीमत कम कर दूंगी. So कीमत can mean cost or value. Here it most closely means cost. Kam means less. So kam karna means to make less or to reduce. So a male vendor would say, मैं इसकी कीमत कम कर दूंगा.
Right. And next we have acha. वो दोनों कितने की हैं? So as I mentioned earlier, when asking for a price of multiple items, we say हैं. Dono means two. It's used to refer to a pair. In Urdu, there's a way to talk about pairs and groups. So dono is a pair, tino is a group of three, charon is a group of four, panchon is a group of five. And I think that's the extent. It stops at 5. Let us know if you think that's not right.
So I think it would be beneficial for those who don't know the numbers in Urdu to mention them. So 1 is ek, 2 is do, 3 is teen, 4 is char, and 5 is panch. And so that's where that grouping method comes from. Dono for 2, tino for 3, charon for 4, and panchon for 5.
So because we introduced the word कीमत earlier, instead of asking वो दोनों कितने की हैं, we can ask इन दोनों की कीमत क्या है? What is the cost of these two? Or what is their cost?
In dono means these two, and we use in instead of ye for these because of the postposition that's going to come up. Dono is the same whether there's a postposition or not, so that word is not changing. So ye dono in this sentence becomes in dono because of the ki. Ki is connecting kimet to these two. So it's becoming the price of these two, or we could say these two's price. Kya hai means what is, so what is the price of these two? We could show that change with these two examples. We could say ye dono kya hai, and that would mean what are these two? Or we say In dono ki कीमत क्या है? What is the price of these two? And so the ye has to change to in because of the postposition ki. Now, let's quickly touch on the next line. Konsi. Ye dono? Konsi can mean which one or which ones. So to the question, ye dono, these two, I respond, nahi, wo nahi, unke barabar wali. So in front of singular nouns or when we're referring to a single item, ye means this and wo means that. It's the difference is proximity, right? Something that's close to us, we're going to say ye. Something further away, we're going to say wo. In front of plural nouns, or when we're referring to multiple items, ye means these, and wo means those. Once again, things that are closer to us are these, and things that are further away are those. So wo here means those because it's referring to a pair of paintings. Wo, nahi, not those. Unke, barabar wali. If you remember in the episode where Shireen translated the King Talks commercial, she discusses the word vala. And now we have the feminine form of that word, vali. Because the word painting is feminine, we say unke barabar wali. So the question was, ye dono? These two? And I say, unke barabar wali. So vali here is feminine, but it's also plural.
Yes. And I looked at the word barabar, and by itself it means equal. But with vala or vali, it means next to. I want to say that I've heard people refer to their neighbors as barabar wale. Hamare barabar wale would mean our neighbors. So, unke barabar wali means the ones next to those, or the ones next to them. So vala or vali means the one. I think in the King Talks commercial, which if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you do so because it's so funny. In that commercial, he says, namkeen wale, and namkeen means salty. So he's referring to the cookies, and he means the salty ones. Namkeen wale.
Basically, there are two things we need to know. We can use vala by itself with some kind of adjective or noun or verb in front of it to mean the one that has that characteristic, like lal vala or neeli wali. Or we can also put a noun after it to know exactly which thing we are referring to, like lal wali painting. In the dialogue, I say wo lal or wo neeli wali. Here, wali is referring to two paintings, so it's feminine plural. And lal is the color red, and neela is the color blue. But because painting is feminine, we say neeli. Lal does not change whether it's masculine or feminine noun.
Exactly. So next I say, ये $45 से कम कहीं नहीं मिलेगी आपको. 45 is how you say 45 in Urdu. Se kam means less than. So if I wanted to say less than $50, I'd say $50 se kam. Less than $90, that would be $90 se kam. Kahin nahi means nowhere. Milna means to meet. But it can also mean to find. If I ask you, mili? Then I'm asking you, did you find it? So back to the dialogue. Kahin nahi milegi aapko means you will not find it anywhere. And this is just another statement you'll often hear South Asian shopkeepers say. Heck, any salesperson will say it no matter where in the world they are. X dollar se kam nahi milegi. You won't find this price anywhere.
Then Shireen says, Jis andaz mein? Andaz here means style. She's referring to the style of the painting. So jis andaz mein means the style in which. Jis in this specific case means which. Like wala, that we mentioned before, jis can be a very important word for learners to know, because perhaps you don't know a specific Urdu word for something, but wish to create a phrase to mean the same thing. If I didn't know the word for wallet, I might say the thing in which I put my money. So in Urdu, I would say, Wo cheez jis mein मैं अपने पैसे डालता हूँ. Jis is actually the word Joe, but it's in the form that's needed because of the postposition. Jis andaz me. Me is the postposition here, so we have to change Joe to Jis. Again, we won't go into that too much here. We're going to discuss it in the follow-up segment and provide more examples of sentences in which Joe, Jis, and Jin are used.
You really won't want to miss that follow-up segment. So we have जिस अंदाज में ये रंग इस्तेमाल किए हैं मैंने, the style in which I used these colors. We've seen the word istamal before. It was in an episode I did with Humera. Istamal karna means to use. And मैंने इस्तेमाल किए हैं means I used. किए is what indicates that it happened in the past. जिस अंदाज में ये रंग इस्तेमाल किए हैं मैंने, the style in which I used these colors. Rang means color or colors. Then we have वो लोगों को बहुत पसंद है.
So log is a masculine plural noun, and when it is followed by a postposition, it must have the plural oblique form logon. Logon means people.
We did begin talking about the difference between log and logon, but it went on for too long. So guess what? We're going to include that in the follow-up segment to this episode. I get the feeling that there might be more than just one follow-up segment. Be sure to give it or them a listen, because we will go into some interesting nuances.
So logon ko bahut pasand hai means people like it a lot. And so to that, I respond with nahi. Ye to mehengi hai. Mehengi means expensive, and it ends in the E ending because painting is feminine. If we were talking about a kaleen, which means rug or carpet, then I'd say ye kaleen bahut mehenga hai. Ye kaleen bahut mehenga hai. Because she's giving me the price of only one of the paintings, hai is used. So nahi, ye to mehengi hai means no, this is expensive.
Then I say, चलो, इन तीनों के लिए $100 कर देती हूँ. चलो in this context means, all right, fine. It's expressing a concession, like, fine, I'll give in. In तीनों means these three. के लिए means for. $100 means $100. Karna by itself means to do, and dena by itself means to give. But kar dena together also means to do. However, with the help of the verb dena, we understand that the action is performed for someone else. So, in तीनों के लिए $100 कर देती हूँ means, for these three, I'll make it $100. For you. I'll do this for you. Let me think of another example. So my dad often says to my mom, चलो, आज बर्तन मैं धो देता हूँ. आज बर्तन मैं धो देता हूँ. That means, fine, today I'll wash the dishes. So, dhona is a verb meaning to wash, and deta is the conjunction of the verb dena. My dad would say deta because he's a man, and I say deti because I'm a woman. Dho deta means will wash. So he's saying, today I will wash the dishes. And the for you is implied. So the two sentences are, चलो, इन तीनों के लिए $100 कर देती हूँ, and चलो, आज बर्तन मैं धो देता हूँ.
So then I say, ye pir bhi bahut mehengi hai. So pir bhi here means still, bahut means a lot or very, and mehengi, like we said, means expensive. And so then we use the third person plural form of the verb to be hona, which is hai, because we're referring to multiple paintings. So ye pir bhi bahut mehengi hai means they're still too expensive. And then I end with khair, aapki kismet. So even though I said they were too expensive, I guess I'm buying them.
Guess so. So, khair, in this context, to me, means, oh well, or anyway. Fine, I didn't get the best deal, but oh well, it's all good.
The word khair is a Persian word. It means like also good or okay or well.
Right. Like if I ask you, "Aap khairiyat se hain?" Like, are you with, good health? "Aap khairiyat se hain?" That khair.
With wellness, so you could say shab bakhair.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's not how it's being used here though. Like khair, like fine, you screwed me over, but whatever. Khair. Then he says, "Aapki kismat." Kismat means fate. So when someone says "Aapki kismat," what they mean is it must be meant for you. Like it's written, this is meant to be for you. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for sticking with us to the end. Be sure to download the handout for episode 19 from our website, urdusikhiye.com. Let us know that you're enjoying the podcast, either by liking us on Facebook or Instagram. If you're really enjoying Urdu Sikhiye, consider leaving us a review on iTunes. I'd like to thank Travis for joining me today. With all the follow-up episodes we've promised you, I've got a good feeling that you'll be back.
Definitely. But for now, khairit se rahein.
Khuda Hafiz.